Good afternoon viewers and welcome. Today we'll be discussing Antoni Gaudi, his life and arguably his greatest work, the Sagrada Familia.
Gaudi, my all-time favourite architect.
Why is it that strictly religious lunatics are always the masters at their craft?
Wasted less time chasing girls, spent that time in libraries scanning books for architectural inspiration from across the globe, I guess.
That's true, Mike. From the beginning of his studies, Gaudi was truly inspired by Oriental arts from across the Asian Pacific, and this can be seen in many of his early work.
But in the end, it was nature that was his true inspiration, the mechanics of natural forms and their visual aesthetics.
See, in a way, his style was rooted from God's creations, and unlike any other architect of his time, finding a straight line in his work can sometimes be almost impossible.
Gaudi was once noted to have once said, "Those who look for the laws of nature as a support for their new works collaborate with the Creator."
A perfect example of this, and arguably his greatest work, the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, which is still incomplete, mind you.
You know, while he was working on his masterpiece, he got hit by a tram and died soon after.
Rumour has it, no one realised who he was, laying there in a frail old suit, almost dead. Most took him for a homeless man.
The irony. Soon they'd find out that homeless-looking man was designing some of the most fantastic buildings in Barcelona, and in fact the world, unlike any they'd seen before.
That's the thing with Gaudi. His life was a paradox, where everything contradicted itself.
Hard to fathom, isn't it? His work looks like it's from the future, even today, yet is deeply infused with history and nature. He was a celibate, yet almost every one of his designs is extremely sensual.
A strict Catholic, his designs were radical and anything but orthodox. Gaudi's work is stunningly symbolic of the city of Barcelona's culture.
No architect has ever used such a small stage to achieve such global recognition. Many adored his work, and many hated it.
Like all great artists, he had plenty of imitators, that's for sure, of which none were successful. Agreed.
Today his work stands as an inspiration for architects, artists, and mankind in general.
He was a great influence to the idea of freedom of expression and a break from tradition.
On the day of his graduation, after 10 years of studying architecture, his director said of him, "Gentlemen, we are here today either in the presence of genius or a madman."
As it turned out, he was a bit of both.
Thanks, Mark. I'm just meters away from the Sagrada Familia. Unfortunately, we're just out of range for this shot and are not able to get any closer. However, if you look hard enough, you can just make out the tops of the bell tower. The La Sagrada Familia began on the 19th of March by architect Francisco de Paul del Villiers. At the end of 1883, Gaudi was commissioned to carry on the works, a task which he did not abandon until his death in 1926. Since then, different architects have continued the work after his original idea. The building is located in the centre of Barcelona, and over the years has become the defining point of the city and the country. It has always been an exploratory church, and it has been built on donations. After undertaking the project in 1883, Gaudi built the crypt, which was finished in 1889. Gaudi's project carried a major symbolic load in both architectural and sculptural from the form, with the ultimate aim of being a catechist explanation of the teaching of the gospel and the church. In 1892, he began work on the foundation of the native facade. In 1892, he began the work on the... I can just cut this.
Yeah.
On the foundations of the nativity facade. And in 1894, the apside facade was finished, as well as the Rosa door in 1899. In 1909, Gaudi built the temporary school, which was originally designed for the children of the workers of the La Sagrada Familia and the local children of the parish. After 1914, Gaudi devoted himself entirely to the Sagrada Familia, and on the 30th of November 1925, the construction of the first bell tower of the nativity facade, dedicated to St. Barney at 100 metres high, was finished. This was the only one that Gaudi lived to see built, as he passed away on the 10th of June 1926, as a result of a tragic accident 3 days earlier when he was hit by a tram. On the 12th of June, he was buried in the Carmen Chapel in the crypt of the La Sagrada Familia. In 2002, the Barcelona Council promoted International Gaudi Year on the occasion of his 150th anniversary of his birth. The building is still standing today and is the iconic structure of today's society.
Good morning, my name is Claire Dudman and I will be reporting to you about the Sagrada Familia. The Sagrada Familia was designed according to the principle, the straight line is the line of man, the curve is the line of God. This was Gaudi's fundamental belief. The church, which was built to accommodate 13,000 people, was 95 metres long and 60 metres wide with ceilings as high as 120 metres. When Gaudi took over this building, the crypt had already been built, but from there onwards, Gaudi rearranged and altered the plans to suit his preferences and his passion for the Baroque style. The first facade facing east is formally recognised as the Nativity facade, which was finished by Gaudi himself and is ornamented in a Baroque fashion with motifs of animals and plants. Gaudi envisioned a basilica, the classic rectangle church shape, with 5 naves running its length and 3 lateral naves forming a traditional Latin cross around the altar. Above the point where these 3 met would be a great ceiling supported by the most ambitious columns Gaudi had ever designed. When finished, the Sagrada Familia will have 18 towers, 4 towers on each of the facades which represent the 12 apostles, and another 4 towers to represent the evangelists Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. When Gaudi died in 1926, the architects finished the Nativity facade, another tower, the apse, and the crypt as they have had a clear vision of what Gaudi had imagined in his mind. The largest tower, which was approximately 170 metres tall, was dedicated to Jesus Christ. Then following that, the last tower was dedicated to the Virgin Mary, which will be built over the apse. Opposite the Nativity facade is the Passion facade. This building began in 1954, but only in 1987 was the sculpture depicting Jesus Christ added. When these sculptures were installed, the abstract figures caused a storm of criticism, as they were so different from Gaudi's style. The third and main facade was the most monumental of the 3, began in 2002 and is still ongoing. This facade on the south side of the church was erected to represent life and death. Although not yet finished, this church, with its giant tree-like pillars and its spectacular vaulting ceilings, is a remarkable building and a landmark to most of the Catholic faith.
Of the Nativity facade, and in 1894 the Aspade facade was finished and
Facade.
I read that so wrong.
Facade.
Okay, facade. Am I saying facade?
Yep.
Okay. In 1892, he began the work of the foundations on the Nativity facade. Did I do it again?
Yeah. Facade.
Sorry, that was a bit loud.
Sorry, you probably don't know this, but to film or photograph in the library, you actually need to get permission to do that.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.